Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage, the awards garage, of course, and with the announcement of the 2025 Cannes Film Festival participating films, we now have perhaps a little bit more focus to some of the blurry imagining dreams that we've been having for the last few months of the new year. Now, I didn't get up at 5 o'clock this morning to do a live reaction because it was 5 o'clock in the morning. So I got up this morning at a normal human time, and I took my kids to school. I went to work. I had a relatively short day today. I came home. I stayed off Twitter. I stayed off social media, came into the garage, turned on the camera, and pulled up the Cannes Film Festival website. I'm looking at the homepage that has their logo, and it says the films of the official selection 2025. So I'm going to be looking at this and scrolling through the website in real time. I haven't seen anything yet, and I'm going to be recording it. I'm going to screen share it with you guys too, so you can see that I'm viewing it in real time. Now, before I do that, I want to tell you some things that I've been kind of thinking about, that I'm kind of looking out for when it comes to the Cannes participants here, the selection of films. So I've been doing early predictions in my head and on this spreadsheet that I keep for myself. I've also done a couple fun things here on the channel where I did an on the radar video that I will tag for you. I did that all the way back in March for my initial on the radar movies that could be in the discussion this year. And then this past week, I did a fantasy best picture movie draft with a couple buddies of mine, Jonathan Fuji and Matt from Next Best Picture. That was a lot of fun. I'll also tag that one on this video for you. So in doing all of that preparation and kind of reading about all the movies that are coming out this year that could be awards players, one thing that I'm definitely looking for at the Cannes Film Festival is what Neon is going to have in competition. The reason being, Neon Studios, the last 5 years of the Cannes Film Festival consecutively have had a Best Picture nominee come out of the Cannes Film Festival as the Palme d'Or winner, which of course is almost like the Best Picture Oscar, but for the Cannes Film Festival. So going back to 2019, Neon had Parasite win the Palme d'Or, Titan from Julia Ducournau, and there's a very interesting movie that she has this year that is one of the things I'm looking for this morning. I hope Alpha is announced, which is her new film. Triangle of Sadness in 2022, a Palme d'Or winner that also ended up getting a Best Picture nomination. Anatomy of a Fall, less than a couple years ago. And then, of course, this past year, Sean Baker's ANORA winning the Palme d'Or, and then going on to receive not only a Best Picture nomination, but basically sweep all the major categories at the Oscars. So when it comes to Neon, the movies that in my head I'm thinking have the best shot at like a Best Picture nomination or eventual win would be Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value, starring Renate Ransva, and she is due some action because she is such a good actress and obviously very successful with The Worst Person in the World, the same duo, director-actress combo. So I'm looking for Sentimental Value to pop up. Elle Fanning, who I've heard some great chatter for her about possible supporting actress nomination. So I think Sentimental Value is showing up today, but it definitely should, and I hope that it does because that's going to make me feel so much better about where I've had it since March, which is basically in that 10 for Best Picture. Now, if it wins the Palme d'Or, and first of all, if it gets in here, and it wins the Palme d'Or, then forget about it. You should have it high on your list. I'm also looking to see if we get some other players that I currently have right in that 10 to 15 range for Best Picture at the Oscars. Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice. That's one of my international picks, and that's expected to possibly be announced here at Cannes as well. Eddington by Ari Aster. I don't know that one's necessarily a Oscars player based on what I've heard about the premise of the movie. When we did that fantasy movie draft, Matt did take it, and he does love its chances. I'm a little more skeptical just because of the type of film it is and knowing Astor's kind of history in filmmaking, which I love, by the way, but it just doesn't scream Academy friendly to me. I've also got my fingers crossed. I'm hopeful for a new Lynn Ramsey film to premiere at Cannes, which would be Die My Love, starring Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence, but it also has some Hollywood veterans in there, Nick Nolte and Sissy Spacek as well, and Lakeith Stanfield, who I actually have on my radar right now for supporting actor next year. So Die My Love would be huge because, again, I'm not going to be at Cannes. I wish I was. But you get to hear the feedback. You get to see the reception. And then us as pundits, you know, if we're not there in person at least, we get to kind of use that stuff to kind of mold our, you know, predictions and kind of like cut off the fat, if you will, to get to the meat of the bone there. What else? Spike Lee, highest to lowest. You know, he's got a pretty good history with premiering at Cannes, whether it's in competition or out of competition. So I'm expecting highest to lowest with A$AP Rocky and Denzel Washington, who I think is going to be supporting, which could be huge for a nomination for him this year. And possible win as well, depending on how well received Spike Lee's film is. But I'm thinking he'll probably get in here. So those are some things that I'm hopeful for, that I'm kind of looking out for, I have my eye on today. You know, winning the Palme d'Or or even being in competition at Cannes doesn't always, quote unquote, matter when it comes to the Academy Awards. But it is a early entrance to award season for a film or a director or a performance like Mikey Madison's. You know, I can remember, that's a great example actually. I can remember last May when ANORA premiered at Cannes and people started talking about it. It was a great movie and people were talking about their love of the film, but almost every single tweet or review or statement that somebody released or interview that I heard mentioned Mikey Madison's performance. And she was the darling on the circuit from like day one at the Cannes Film Festival. And that obviously lasted all the way till Oscars night when she won the Academy Award for lead actress. So when you get that chatter and you get that support from such a film-loving community as the folks that are voting in Cannes and who are attending Cannes, then you're off to a fucking great start. Now, does it always translate to a win or even a nomination? No, of course not. Look at Julia Ducournau's Titane, which was a fucking batshit crazy film that I absolutely loved, that actually made The Substance look like an episode of Little House on the Prairie. Even though it won the Palme d'Or, even though it got Ducournau a kind of name in the industry on a wider scale, it was never going to break through to the Academy Awards. This is the first major precursor that we're going to get, which is super early because it happens in May, which is 7 to 8 months before any nominations come out. So it's really early, but it does kind of give you like, okay, these films or these directors, you know, the Cannes members, which I'm not quite sure how many people decide the selection, but I think it's thousands, and they kind of usher in some films for us to keep our eye on. All right, let me share the Cannes website with you so you can see that I'm shooting you straight here. Get it in here. Let's see what's happening. Scrolling through here in real time, see what we're looking at. The official selection. That's their logo, I guess, this year. Hot pink. All right. I'll take it. Man, this light from the computer is bright on my face, isn't it? Let's see. Discover the list of feature films selected in competition, un certain regard, which I think is films that are also in competition, but they're for like first-time filmmakers. Somebody hit me in the comments. I think that's for like up-and-coming filmmakers or possibly even first-time filmmakers. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it has something to do with like new in your career in filmmaking. Films that will be out of competition, midnight screenings, premieres, and special screenings. All right, so the list of films is regularly updated. All right, so that's a key thing too, because they don't always announce the whole lineup on the initial day, which is today. So whatever they give us, we're probably still going to get a handful more films in the next like week or 2 weeks. Probably you'll start to see rollout of announcements because some films may have submitted late, or they submitted with an asterisk that we're submitting this, but please give us until this day to make sure the film can play and that we're done with it. And Cannes will say, okay, you have until whatever day to do the official submission, and if so, we'll watch it, we'll put it in. So we're going to get some additions for that too, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, in competition, let's see here. Well, the opening film is out of competition. By the way, if it's French, I'm going to butcher it. Let's see. Partir un jour. That was good, right? Okay, here we go. So here now. Oh, I didn't mention Wes Anderson. Okay, The Phoenician Scheme. Yes. Okay, so Wes Anderson. That movie might be out. I don't have the date in front of me. I think that movie comes out the week of Cannes. I think it's definitely in May, so it's definitely the same month as Cannes. But anyway, that's kind of weird because that's going to be coming out to the public. Unless maybe I'm just have that wrong. But anyway, okay, so Wes Anderson, who obviously has been at Cannes many, many times. I think 4 or 5 of his films have been in competition in the past. So Phoenician Scheme, you know, I'm not like a giant Wes Anderson guy personally. I do like some of his stuff, particularly his early stuff like Royal Tenenbaums. But I don't know. I just don't get like crazy excited like a lot of folks do. I mean, I do like him. I think he's a great filmmaker, but it's just like the same the aesthetic just kind of wears on me after a while with Wes Anderson. And it's a little too, I don't want to say pretentious, but it's a little too like comically auteur, if that makes sense. Great filmmaker and gets great like kind of slapsticky, absurd performances from his actors. So we'll see with Phoenician Scheme. I am excited about the cast, and I am excited to see what he does with it. So there's Eddington by Ari Aster. So I'm 1 for 1 on what I was kind of hoping for there. Again, I don't think it's going to be an Academy player, but what if it goes to Cannes and the reception is just off the charts? I mean, we'll see. Maybe an acting nomination for Joaquin Phoenix, maybe supporting for Austin Butler, Pedro Pascal. I would love for him to get some Oscar love. He's got a couple projects this year that could be possibilities. So, you know, who knows? And then Ari Aster is always going to be in the running for like screenplay, you know, editing, cinematography, production design, because I think this is like a town that they constructed in like the Midwest or Southwest. So I'm excited. It's like a comedy, horror, Western is kind of what I've heard. And it also is going to have a political message because it's going to be kind of centered on a story that was revolving around COVID, where the sheriff, I guess, is at odds with the mayor of this small town over face masks during the pandemic. So we've all been there. If you've been to Walmart and you met a Karen, you know what I'm talking about. Some that I'll skip over, but I'm going to add a lot of these to my on the radar list on Letterboxd. I have my Letterboxd up here too, by the way. I might go to that when we're done here, so and kind of match up. So I'm not going to mention every single one of them, but look at this one right here. Bam! To Cure Now's Alpha. There we go. Now I'll switch over to Letterboxd right now. In the late 1980s, a teenager starts getting rejected by her classmates because of a rumor spreading that she's been infected with a new disease. And that's Emma Mackey. Now, the new disease, this is an 1980s period piece, is AIDS, HIV and AIDS. So I think To Cure Now, I'm not saying this is going to be a mainstream, like, normal film. That's not what I mean. Because Raw and Titan were anything but that. So I don't expect her to change her whole philosophy and her whole visionary eye. But I think that the story might be a little more grounded and a little more awards friendly. Because that's obviously a very important and kind of tragic piece of American history. So it could do something there. It could do about a quick contest I'm running on this channel. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel and be a public subscriber. The contest is going to run through May 31st, and I will randomly draw one of my public subscribers. Just make sure you comment on this video or any of my videos between now and the end of May that you have subscribed so that I can add your username to the list. We're going to be giving away a canvas poster of the Oscar-winning Anora, featuring, of course, Mikey Madison. There you see the image. It will be a standard 24 by 36 official movie poster size, stretched onto canvas and ready to hang on your wall or in the strip club that you own. Make sure you subscribe to enter the contest. That's literally all you have to do. Comment on this video or any future videos between now and May 31st, 2025, and I will give away this beautiful canvas poster of Anora. But the fact that it's going to be in competition says something to me, and it definitely bumps it up in the possibilities for me. Renard, I don't know. The History of Sound. Okay, Hermanus' film. That's the one with Josh O'Connor, I think. Hold on, I'll go back and forth here. I might edit around this so it looks like, if it looks like I'm jumpy, it's because I'm editing it for you guys, because I care about you. So yeah, Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal. So Paul Mescal also has a few projects this year, including Hamnet. Oh, that's another one, by the way, which I guess didn't show up because it's alphabetical order, I think. Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor, two young men during World War I, set out to record the lives, voices, and music of their American countrymen. So the backdrop is World War I, which right away is like, okay, the Oscars love fucking wartime films, period. They just do. But also, I think this is a gay romance. I think. It doesn't say there on the Letterboxd description, but I feel like I heard in an interview or something like that Mescal and O'Connor, it's like a Brokeback Mountain situation, except they're photojournalists. So that could be Beatty as well. I'm fucking really excited to see it. So I didn't expect that one to show up. Some other ones that I don't. Oh, okay, so this is interesting because I had another Linklater film on my radar, Blue Moon, starring Margaret Qualley and Ethan Hawke, which is a biopic about the kind of building and writing of the production of Oklahoma in the 1950s, the popular musical. This is Cannes material for sure, because New Vague, which I think is Nuevo I can't remember. I can't remember what the French term is, but that's actually the title of the film. So this is the American translation, I believe. But it is a story about a French filmmaker. That is definitely makes sense that it's on the list for competition here and that they would have responded to that movie. I'm still kind of sticking with Blue Moon. You know, my friend Matt I was mentioning told me that it premiered at Berlin recently and it got a ton of great feedback. The Blue Moon one sounds more Academy to me. New Vague or Vogue sounds a little more French and Cannes to me. So, but that's interesting because I could get a link later in the conversation, just his name. I mean, all right, let's see. Fury, I don't. So, a lot of these I haven't even heard of. Dossier, The Mastermind, Kelly Reichardt. Let's fucking go, dude. Oh my God. Let me reflect. Hold, please. So, The Mastermind, James Mooney orchestrates an audacious art heist against the backdrop of the Vietnam War. Or were we just talking about the history of sound? So it's not necessarily a war film, and I don't think the history of sound is either. It's not like it's going to have, you know, shootouts and battles and cannons and shit, but it's the backdrop, right? And they love a wartime film, and then you insert these other kinds of narratives going on at the same time with that as your setting. And I think it really helps the proceedings. Now, of course, it didn't really help for Blitz this past year, which is a similar style to what I'm talking about, where the kind of wars going on around the story that we're following. So, you know, it doesn't always hit. That was an example. But I think this one could. And Kelly Reichardt is such a phenomenal director. What was Showing Up, I think, was the one that she had in competition recently, just a couple of years ago. I have that one on Blu-ray here, and I didn't get to see it in the theater, but I watched it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this didn't get any love on award season that year, which I guess would have been 2023. It stars Josh O'Connor, Alana Haim, John Magaro, Hope Davis, Bill Camp. So it's got a great cast, great kind of political wartime situation. I think it's primed to be in the conversation, and Kelly Reichardt is due some love from us, from the Academy over here. Okay, Eagles of the Republic, I don't know. The Sound of Falling, I've heard of. Ramiria and Sentimental Value is there in competition. Joachim Trier, There Is a God. Because the Un Certain Regard, like I said, I think is for first-time filmmakers. So does this mean Die My Love is not here? Lynn Ramsey. What the hell? Spike Lee's not here for Highest to Lowest. That's notable because that film's coming out. That film is done. They wrapped that. I saw that. I mean, wrapped it as in they completed the film. So if it's done and Spike Lee goes to Cannes frequently, why isn't he taking this film to Cannes? Or why didn't they select it, I should say. I think he submitted it, so why didn't they select it? What else is missing here? Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. All right, you know what? I'm gonna hold tears back because for some of these, particularly Lynn Ramsey and Park Chan-wook, I'm gonna hold back overreacting because, like I said, they're going to add more titles. How many was that? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Ooh, maybe not. Well, 20. I think I said 20. I think it's anywhere from like 20 to 23 typically. So they could add up to 3 or 4 more titles to get the full competition lineup. Un Certain Regard. By the way, I've probably butchered what this is about, but I'm almost positive this is an early film or maybe early screenplay or I think it's for first-time filmmakers, I think. Jesus Christ. Forgive me. All right, let's see if there's any. I'm just going to see if there's any that jump out at me here. Okay, Urchin is the one Harris Dickinson wrote. Obviously an actor who was in Triangle of Sadness. Also in Baby Girl last year. So that's his. Did he direct that? Oh my God, he did. So let's do that first of all. And let's also do this, because I didn't do this. Mike, a rough sleeper in London, trapped in a cycle of self-destruction as he attempts to turn his life around. Raw and absurd, the film is a story about the strange patterns that keep pulling us back. And he didn't put himself in the movie either. Or at least he's not credited here. That's crazy. I thought he was only the screenwriter. Did he write it? Let's see. Yeah, he wrote it. So I knew that. I did not know he directed it. And he's a producer on it. Keep your eye on that. Do we have a young Bradley Cooper on our hands? Any other ones I recognize? Look! Eleanor the Great! Guys, I went out on a limb when I did that fantasy draft with Matt and Jonathan, and I said that my all guts, wait a minute, no guts, no glory. Is it no guts, no glory, or no guts, all glory? Prediction is Eleanor the Great by Scarlett Johansson and also June Squibb for lead actress. I think I'm going to stick with that until I decide that it's not smart. Nobody knows anything right now, and that's my very, very early, holy shit, what is he talking about prediction. I mean, it's directed by Scarlett Johansson, her first directorial effort, right? The Academy loves her. I mean, she's been nominated multiple times. She is a box office draw with the MCU stuff. She's one of the elite in Hollywood. Not only is she directing, she's directing 94-year-old June Squibb, who, talk about being beloved in the industry. Holy shit. I mean, been at it her whole life, a previous Oscar nominee, don't forget. So, you know, I mean, she's not going to be around forever, guys. She's 94 years old. I mean, that's going to play into it, you know, whether we like that or not. If they think about Leonardo DiCaprio with The Revenant 5 or 6 years ago, and they think about, we got to give it to him before it's too late, what do you think they're going to think if June Squibb's in the conversation? I mean, it's going to factor into it. And on top of that, you got to imagine it's going to be a really, really good performance with a lot of drama and comedy mixed in. I know it's a story about her losing her best friend, I think, and then she moves back to her hometown and has to kind of get reacclimated as an elder in a different society. So it's going to be kind of a life reflection movie. And I'm interested to see how ScarJo is behind the camera. How, you know, is she influenced by her relationship with, you know, directors like Sofia Coppola or, you know, Taika Waititi? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what her visionary style is going to be. I don't know if she's going to borrow from the filmmakers that she's worked with, if it's going to be something we completely don't expect, if it's just going to be kind of a normal viewpoint. So I'm interested to see what she brings to it. And I know June Squibb's going to bring the heat. So I'm really excited to see that one in there. Now, of course, it's not in the main competition. But imagine if she were to win the Uncertain Regard here and be a Cannes award-winning film going into award season. That's going to shoot Eleanor the Great up for a lot of people. And just remember, I told you, in fucking March of this year. Also, if it doesn't happen, you don't have to remember that. Let's see what else we got. If there's anything I recognize here, no. I'm going to be adding all these to my watch list, though. What else? Out of competition. So these are films that... What? Okay, so highest to lowest is here. Interesting. Okay, but it's out of competition. All right, well, that's fine. That's not the most shocking thing in the world, I guess. But it did get selected to premiere at Cannes. And again, you know, the biggest thing for me, since I'm not able to go to the festival, the biggest thing for me is to get the reception from the, not necessarily general public, because, you know, not a lot of GA people are going to Cannes. I mean, there's a few, of course, but getting the overall reception from like the critical community and the industry, and what the Palme d'Or is, of course, but what's the word of mouth on some of these projects that are thought to be early awards players, of which Spike Lee is obviously one for highest to lowest. Now, the last time he remade an international film, let's just say it didn't pan out. Let's just say that, okay? But he's a great filmmaker, and he does have a great history with the Academy. Da 5 Bloods underperformed on Oscars that year. You know, I mean, Delroy Lindo not getting nominated still haunts me. But we'll see. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, I expected. Obviously, Tom Cruise is, you know, I mean, he's basically if we had a president of cinema, he's basically the president of the United States of cinema, that guy. So he's probably going to, you know, fucking come in on a jet ski, and they'll have a ramp built, you know, in the channel there, and he'll come in on a jet ski, and he'll probably fly up in the thing, and, you know, somebody will shoot a damn, one of those t-shirt cannons or whatever, they'll shoot it at him while he's in midair, and he'll catch the French flag, you know, and then land on the ground on both feet, and it'll be waving in the audience, you know. I mean, that's probably what he's going to do. All right, midnight screenings would probably be the last thing that I think we're going to look at here. I haven't heard of any of these. None of these I've heard of. And there'll be more. There's only 3 there, so it's probably going to be like 10 midnight screenings at least. So they'll be adding movies. So interesting. And these are ones that are premiering at Cannes. And then they have a few special screenings that I'm also... Oh, I did hear about this one. Stories of Surrender by Bono, of course, of U2. Let's see. I think that's a documentary, I think. Andrew Dominic, who did Blonde? right? Am I crazy? Yeah, that's the blonde filmmaker. Wait, what? Hang on a second. I didn't know that part. I thought it was a documentary. Let's see. Through words, music, and mischief, Bono pulls back the curtain on his deeply personal experiences that have shaped him as a son, father, husband, activist, and the U2 frontman. So it is a documentary, right? Or is it like a reimagining of his life and he plays himself? Sorry, I'm doing research on the video. I'm going to edit around all this, hopefully. You know, he hasn't blown me away. I did love The Assassination of Jesse James with Brad Pitt. I thought that was a great film, but then talk about jumping off a cliff with my likability for a film. I hated Blonde. I thought Ana de Armas was phenomenal in it as Marilyn Monroe, but the movie itself and the way it was patched together was like hard to watch. Let's just put it that way. So that's interesting. All right, so there you go. That's the Cannes lineup. I'll post a link down below if you want to go check it out on the Cannes website, and you can just click that and go right over there. Let me know what you guys thought of these announcements for these selections, the jury prize. We don't know all the jury selections yet, and there will be more added to the competition. There'll probably be more added to special screenings, to midnight screenings. So I think the Cannes Film Festival is like the 13th, I believe, is when it starts, which is weird. I think that's the day that the Wes Anderson movie comes out, or maybe it's the week after. So it's maybe like a week in advance. So, you know, my takeaways were, you know, we saw Spike Lee sneak in there. That must have happened while I was doing this, because I just saw that we were scrolling through the competition and he wasn't there. I wonder why he was out of competition, though. I don't know, whatever. I thought it would be in competition for sure, although I guess it's not the craziest thing in the world that it wasn't. But so having him in there was cool, but, you know, we definitely didn't see Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. We didn't see Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love, which I was really hopeful to see. We also didn't see Hamnet by Chloe Zhao. You know, I had heard like a day or two ago that might not happen at Cannes because it wasn't quite ready. So Hamnet might be one of those films that's kind of on standby, where maybe they submitted it, but they said, hey, we need an extra 2 weeks or whatever, and if there's a spot, we'll take it. One of those types of deals. I don't expect Hamnet to show up since it wasn't announced. To me, that says it's not ready, because that is definitely a movie that you would bring to Cannes if you could. Oh, PTA was missing. I mean, I didn't really expect him to show up there. I didn't. Warner Brothers is the distributor for that, and they don't really compete at Cannes very often. I mean, they're not like, you know, submitting films to like independent cinema to go to Cannes Film Festival. I mean, it's happened, but it's not like we look to see what Warner Brothers is going to be submitting every year. I'm not too worried about that one. It doesn't, the studio behind that PTA film doesn't scream Cannes Film Festival to me. Now, you know, if A24 or Lionsgate or Focus or Neon or somebody like that had one battle after another, and then it didn't go to Cannes or wasn't submitted for Cannes, then that would be fucking weird. But the fact that it's Warner Brothers, you know, one of the largest movie houses in the world, that's not doing a ton of independent cinema, that one doesn't really surprise me. But I would have loved for it to shown up there in May, because then we would have started to get that feedback, and the movie comes out in September. So, you know, I'm pretty sure it's going to premiere at a festival prior to just, you know, coming out. So, but yeah, it wasn't here at Cannes, so that's interesting. David Lowery's Mother Mary was a possibility to maybe show up here, but I also don't think that one's quite ready yet, as that's a late release. And then what I'm most excited for, what I saw today, which is kind of what I told you guys in my open, was Sentimental Value, Joachim Trier's new film with Renate Ransva. That's a duo that I hope gets their due from the Academy and from awards in general. So Worst Person in the World is one of the best movies of the last 10 years, in my opinion. And it just didn't perform well enough or up to its potential on the Oscars that year. So maybe we can right that wrong a little bit with Sentimental Value. And there's some other powerhouse actors in it that I've heard their name kind of being thrown around as well. You know, I'm in a firm spot right now where Ransva, I want to put her in my lead actress. And I'm doing that tonight with a special guest, so I guess I need to figure it out. But I kind of want her in that 5. It kind of makes sense for me, for her to be nominated for lead actress next year. Now, especially if Sentimental Value were to win the Palme d'Or. Of course, I'm way ahead of the game, and I'm speaking hypothetically. But if that were to happen, then we have a very, very similar, almost international version of ANORA going on. I'm not talking about narratively in the film. I mean, obviously, there are 2 different films, story-wise, but I'm talking about just the like reception and trajectory of what could happen, because Ransva is a little bit older than Mikey Madison, but I mean, both young in their careers for the most part. And, you know, I mean, I would say Mikey Madison and ANORA was more of a star-making, burst onto the scene movie, whereas Ranzva is already there, you know, with Worst Person in the World, and internationally too. She was great in Armand last year. So she's known in other parts of the world already really, really well. But even with the success of Worst Person, she's not super well known in America, aside from like people like us and people that are, you know, cinephiles. So I would love for her to kind of take that same ANORA type trajectory that Mikey took last year. If Sentimental Value wins the Palme d'Or, which right now I think it will. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, I don't know if reception comes out and people don't like it, then obviously that I was wrong. But I feel like it's the most Cannes Palme d'Or friendly. Curacao as well for Alpha. I love that Eddington is going to get in because I want to hear what people think about it. I'm going to have some serious FOMO going on because I love Ari Aster. But we're going to know within a day of it premiering at Cannes if it's an Oscar player. I mean, even my friend Matt, who's going, and my friend Dan Bayer is going with him, and other people I know are going to be there. I'll know within an hour or two if it's an Oscar movie. I mean, right away, I'll be able to take it off this list, or I'll have to keep it in there and kind of work my way through the season with it. Because Ari Aster is one of those filmmakers, tells those types of stories that the movie comes out, the movie hits, 2 or 3 days later, all the reviews start rolling in, Rotten Tomatoes scores, this. And then by the end of it, you go, okay, well, Beau is Afraid is not going to get shit at the Oscars. It's not an Oscars player. You just know, you know, based on how certain people in the industry are responding to the film, even if they like it, you know what I mean? So I don't think this is going to be a Beau is Afraid situation, but my fear is that it's partly Beau is Afraid and partly his horror legacy. So that's not Academy shit. I mean, you know, they could surprise us, and they did last year with The Substance, and people keep pointing that out to me. I do think that's a one-off, in my opinion. Right now, it's a one-off. So it's rare that, you know, they go for weird shit like that. But they could, of course. And I'm doing this off the top of my head, but the Lim Ramsey miss and the Park Chan-wook miss are probably the worst for me. The biggest ones where I'm like, you guys fucking forgot these. Either that or they're not ready. And if they're not ready, then that's obviously not Cannes' fault, and maybe they'll get added within the next couple weeks. I cross my fingers for that. I'm very excited for those. I'm going to also share my Letterboxd down below. There's a link to it. You can go there. I have an On the Radar 2026 On the Radar list on Letterboxd. I keep it in alphabetical order, and I update it frequently every couple days. I actually just added a couple while I was doing this video, and I'm going to go back and look at all the Cannes selections, and I'll be adding some of those to the list also, because I feel like those all are going to be in the conversation and people are going to be thinking about them at one point or another until eventually we get down to the Academy Award nominations and we're down to, you know, 10 or 15 movies that are really players. But up until then, you're looking at 50, 60 movies, and you have to whittle it down. That's why this is fun for me every year, and it really starts with Cannes, frankly. So in the next month, we're going to start whittling stuff down. You know, we're going to start sculpting our little wooden statue, you know. And after 5-6 months of whittling it, there it is. There's the statue with the nominees on it. That's what I'm doing. It takes a while to get there, guys. What analogy was that? Why am I woodworking for Oscar predictions? Let me know what you guys thought of the Cannes selections, and I probably won't do another video when they add movies, but we're going to be doing all kinds of early Oscars predictions leading up to the Academy Awards over the next several months. So I'm sure Cannes will be part of that conversation when we get the final list of films. And I'm excited to give you guys my official, way too early predictions for the 6 major categories. That video will be out most likely next week. But I got to get going because I got to get my list together. My special guest is joining me in literally a few hours. And he knows what he's talking about. Trust me. And we're going to give you guys our way too early Oscars predictions. Make sure you subscribe so you can be there for that. And I'll see you guys out here next time. I won't be in France. I'll be in the garage.